friends. I'm Kimberly Gold. I am the host of the new podcast, Always Unpacking. I don't know why that has to be done in a British accent. I don't know why. Maybe I was British in another life. We'll unpack that later. On our very first episode, I have one of my best friends, Nilaja Montgomery. Nilaja J. Montgomery. Please say hi.
Hi, guys.
This episode, or this season rather, we're focusing on military spouses. And we're going to unpack some things today. One thing that I think is very interesting about Nilaja, I call her Needy. I call her Needy, so we don't want to say Needy. So one thing that I think that viewers should understand, listeners should understand, is you are a military spouse and you're a military veteran.
I am. Yep, I am both. I left the military as a captain, and I was a Ranger wife, married to a Ranger. Yes.
And I think this is important to note because now obviously, they were dual military, and she transitioned and became a military spouse. And I think that there's this intersectionality of being both a military veteran and being a military spouse. Yes. But too many times we say it's one or the other. And for you, people, even though we're also a military spouse and understand the challenges and joys that come with that, people are like, oh, but you're a veteran. Oh, but you're a veteran.
Yes.
Oh, but you're a veteran.
Exactly.
And that's not cool.
It's not cool. I think that intersectionality is a hard one for a lot of folks because we like our buckets and we like them to be clean and we like them to be succinct. And I kind of fall into many different buckets, so it's not as clean and it gets kind of messy, and I don't think people like that.
No, we like things a little too simple, but life's not simple, you know? It's not. There's joy in the complexities of the life. Nice. And I said it. And Nini, you're working on a really fun project.
Yes.
This is something that you're unpacking in your professional life.
Yes.
Could you tell us about this really cool project that you're unpacking?
Is it my podcast?
Yes.
I have a lot of projects, but yes, I have a podcast. It's called The Cultural Collision, but overarchingly Nilaja Montgomery Presents, so my first and middle name. And I'm going to be talking a lot about intersectionality and all these different buckets and how they collide, and sometimes there's friction, and sometimes it's a joy of wealth, and it's it's diversity at its finest, which is a gift. Thanks, Alicia Keys. Shout out to you. So yes.
Hey Keys. Are you watching, sis? Nilaja Montgomery Presents The Cultural Collective. It's going to be launching very, very, very soon. Yes. By the time that this is produced, maybe it's already launched.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll make sure that you have the details for that. So let's go back to your mil spouse experience just a little bit. You have had to unpack some heavy things as a mil spouse.
Yes.
Do you care to share?
Sure. So oddly enough, I was a military spouse first. So I met my soldier right out of college, and he was already in the military. And I didn't know what that meant. I will not lie to y'all. So he asked me to marry him. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. We're in love, all the things. And then I moved to Fort Benning, Georgia. Never have been on a military base ever in my life. And it was a cultural shock, to say the least. But also during that time, we were married in 2006, but 2008 was when the housing market crashed, and a lot of things. The economy crashed. Okay. And I kept saying, I need to find a job. I had left a really good job to move, to be with him. And that's a unpacking right there. Put my career on pause, literally. It was my dream job, and I left it so that I could be with my soldier in Fort Benning. And looking for a new job in that economy, it was non-existent. And he had made a comment before his first deployment, or it might have been before Ranger School, or I can't remember. Anyway, well, if you join the military, then you'd be an officer because you already have your degree. So he left, and I went to MEPS, and I signed up, and he got back, and it was like, you did what? And I was like, you told me that this would solve my problems. And it did. Financially, they did pay off my student loans. I had a job, a well-paying job, had benefits, and the whole thing. Now, I could have had benefits alone, just being a spouse, and I shouldn't say just, but without the additional identity of becoming a soldier myself, but I am very ambitious in my career and I wanted to have my own income as well. I felt like I didn't go to college to just go to college, excuse me.
It's okay, she just wanted to touch.
Yes, I needed some touch in that moment. And so that's one huge shift that happened in my life and continued to happen throughout. Even though we were dual military, my ambition for the career that I wanted very much conflicted with being a military spouse and following my soldier everywhere that he was going, if that makes sense. So.
It makes sense. So I heard a few things, listeners, and if you're listening, I'm very curious. If you're a military spouse, have you had the challenge of military spouse employment, or should I say unemployment or underemployment? Have you left a dream job for the sake of your spouse, for following your service member? I feel like a couple million people could relate. And are you a mil spouse turned military member yourself? Because that story is not completely unique to you. I know other people have done that. So you served in the military, you're a military spouse, and then you became a military member, and then you got out of the military.
Yes.
And you were in a singular identity, which is not real, but for the sake of simplicity, you became a military spouse again.
Yep.
How was that transition from being a military member to going back to a more one identity?
It has been difficult to reconcile. And I'll say that because I find myself involved in a lot of initiatives that have to do with military life in general. And I find there I am definitely post my service being asked to identify as one or the other. A great example of this is if I go to a military, let's say it's a conference, and they'll have things for military spouses, and then they'll have things for veterans. And if I buy the ticket to that conference, they want to know either or. There's rarely a all of the above, or check this box if you've done both of these, or if you, and so I find myself having to choose, am I going to go the veteran route and just do everything the veterans are doing, or am I going to dip into more of what the military spouses are doing? And I feel like I should be able to do both, but there often is not overlappage at all.
Interesting. I know of many spouses who were service members or vice versa, the intersectionality of being both. So I want you to tag somebody who has been a military spouse and served in the military, because this is a unique identity, but not really, because there's so many, and we need to give voices and space to these folks who have served our country and honored their spouse through that different kind of service.
Yes, and boy, there's a lot that happened in between me getting in and leaving, but I will say this, I will be remiss to say, we are still married by the grace of God, and we both diagnoses of PTSD, and so that really is where we are today, is like, how do we live together with everything that we are unpacking from our military service separately, and then how are we fitting into the roles of today, because both of us are no longer active duty military. So yeah,
and being a military spouse, considering the intersectionality, what's something positive that you think that you or your spouse, your family has benefited that was a positive of military service?
So I will say one of the great things about our family, and we do have a son, we are very, I want to say we're more vulnerable and more willing to ask for help than one may seem. And here's what I mean by that. I know in a lot of cultures, what happens in the house stays in the house. We don't talk about it. Whatever happens here stays here. You do not go outside of that. We are all in therapy, each one of us individually, and then he and I together doing couples counseling as well. And so the positive is, like, we are growing every single day, and I think we're growing together. And as long as we can keep that momentum going, I think that is the one positive that comes from all of that. I know a lot of military families who don't get that help and don't seek it out. And that's one positive that I'm grateful that we all share. So.
And what's a challenge that you feel you are unpacking either by yourself or as a family that you can directly say is service connected?
So obviously, I said my diagnosis of PTSD. That has definitely been a challenge in my career, post-military service, and spouse-wise. Watching, I actually left the military first, and then my husband left the military. And it was interesting to watch him do it after I had already done it, but I think it gave me a lot more sympathy and empathy towards the situation because I had already been through it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's something that I feel like.
No, I think you were very clear. PTSD.
Yeah. that is the challenge.
Yes, and that's a very real diagnosis for a lot of military members. I think we often associate PTSD directly with the military, but I hope that we're growing and to understand that PTSD is a diagnosis that it's more than the military. Yes. I am diagnosed with PTSD because of traumatic childhood experiences. So thank you for sharing quite vulnerably. And to end on a literal unpacking note, I know you as my friend, so I know that you love to travel and you're on the go. Yes. And I love that. We've traveled together. Yes. And we have some trips coming up soon. But as you're unpacking and you're going on a trip, what is the one thing that you must have?
When I'm unpacking, and I'm on the trip?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, you're on the trip. You are in your luggage.
This is a good question.
Literal luggage, not baggage.
Right. You know what's interesting, and this is going to sound really weird, but I always take a pillow cover. This might sound weird. A silk pillow cover. Hear me out. I must have this no matter where I travel. And the reason is because of my hair. Silk does really, and my skin. Silk does magical things for Black women's hair and their skin. So I always bring a pillow cover, a pillowcase, and I put it over whatever pillow. If I can bring my pillow, I'll bring my pillow. But if I can't, then I bring at least the pillow cover.
You know what?
Is that random?
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. If I could bring my pillow, I would do as well, but that would just be too much space, and I'm already an overpacker as it is. But I have a travel silk pillowcase.
See?
And so I'm there with you, sis. Well, thank you so much for being on the first premiere episode of Always Unpacking. Remember, we are so much more than one singular identity. We have these different intersections. If you've enjoyed hearing about my best friend Nini today, and you want to check her out and you want to support her, where do we follow you?
Oh, NilajaJendai.com, which has all of my socials, and I don't know, should I spell it like I do in my podcast?
Yes.
NilajaJendai.com.
That wasn't practiced. Thank you, Nini, for being on my premiere episode. I love you so much. Thank you. Please recommend more military spouses in this first season. We really want to honor our military spouses. And speaking of honoring military spouses, we want to honor and recognize the 2025 Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year just released the names of the branch winners. So welcome to the newest class of Military Spouse of the Years. Congratulations, Military Spouse? MSOI. We say MSOI because we love our acronyms. So welcome to the newest MSOIs. Congratulations. Cannot wait to see how the season of MSOI unfolds for you. Congratulations and stay tuned until next time on Always Unpacking.